Sometimes the most devastating moments in life don't announce themselves with shouting matches or tears streaming down someone's face. Sometimes they arrive quietly, almost invisibly. They come in the form of a message that never gets answered, a phone that never rings, or a gift that sits untouched long after the moment it was meant for has passed. And for Mykelti Brown, that quiet has finally grown loud enough to drown out every excuse she's ever made for her father. For years, Mykelti believed silence didn't always mean rejection. She told herself it meant busyness, confusion, emotional overwhelm, or maybe even fear. She gave her father the benefit of the doubt long after most people would have stopped. But now, after everything she's tried, everything she's offered, and everything she's forgiven, that silence has finally delivered a message she can no longer ignore. It's telling her exactly where she stands. And it's breaking her heart. What's unfolding right now isn't just about a forgotten Christmas gift. It's about the slow, painful unraveling of a father-daughter relationship that one side fought desperately to keep alive. It's about a daughter who kept extending olive branches while quietly bleeding out emotionally. And it's about a father who, time and time again, failed to meet her halfway. Away from reality TV cameras and carefully edited confessionals, Mykelti has been sharing pieces of her truth on Patreon. And what she's revealed there paints a picture that is far more raw, far more honest, and far more devastating than anything we've seen on screen. Because while viewers are watching Kody Brown cry on television, apologize to his ex-wives, and talk about growth and accountability, his own daughter is watching something very different unfold in real time. This story begins before Christmas 2024, when Mykelti made a decision that would require vulnerability, hope, and emotional courage. Together with her children, she began creating a handmade scrapbook for Kody. This wasn't something ordered with a click. This wasn't a generic gift chosen out of obligation. This was personal, painfully personal. She documented the process for her followers, showing how much thought went into every page. Photos were carefully chosen. Her children pressed their tiny handprints into the pages. Letters were written. Memories were preserved. Moments were frozen in time. But this scrapbook wasn't just a gift. Mykelti called it what it really was: an olive branch. Inside those pages were images of life continuing without Kody. Grandchildren growing. Milestones passing. Gatherings he wasn't present for. Moments he missed. And yet, instead of resentment, the scrapbook carried hope. It carried an unspoken message that said, "You're still invited. You're still wanted. You still matter." It was Mykelti's way of reaching across years of hurt and disappointment to offer her father one more chance to show up. The scrapbook arrived at Kody's home on Christmas Eve. And then, nothing. Christmas Day came and went. No text, no call, no acknowledgement, not even a simple thank you. Days passed, then weeks. Mykelti waited, telling herself not to overthink it, telling herself he was busy, telling herself she was being sensitive. But as January rolled on and the silence continued, something inside her shifted. Finally she reached out. "Hey Dad, did you receive it?" Still nothing. She waited again, then sent another message. And only on January 9th, weeks after Christmas, did Kody finally respond. He confirmed he received the gift. He said he liked it. And that was it. 3 short sentences. No emotion. No phone call. No acknowledgement of the effort. No recognition of what that gift represented. 3 sentences for something that took hours of labor, years of emotional endurance, and a lifetime of longing. During a Patreon live, Mykelti said something quietly devastating. She said he probably wouldn't be getting another Christmas gift in 2026. And in that moment, it became clear that this wasn't bitterness speaking. It was resignation. It was the sound of someone finally realizing that continuing to try might cost more than walking away. Because to understand why this gift mattered so much, you have to understand who Mykelti has been in this family. For years she was the loyal one, the mediator, the bridge between people who no longer spoke. When siblings pulled away, she stayed. When relationships fractured, she tried to hold them together. When others criticized Robyn, Mykelti defended her. She even invited Robyn to be present via Zoom for the birth of her twins, hoping inclusion would heal wounds instead of deepen them. Mykelti believed for a long time that if she loved hard enough, stayed kind enough, and kept the door open wide enough, her father would eventually walk through it. But being Switzerland in a family war is exhausting. And eventually it costs you something. Christine later revealed that part of the reason Mykelti and her husband Tony moved to North Carolina in 2024 was because Mykelti was simply worn out. Tired of trying. Tired of hoping. Tired of being the emotional glue that never held. But here's what makes that move even more painful. Kody knew it was coming. Mykelti told him directly. She told him he should come visit before they relocated across the country. She made it clear this was an opportunity, chance, a moment that mattered. He didn't take it. Later in his confessional, Kody blamed scheduling conflicts. He claimed plans kept changing and nothing aligned. But Mykelti's version tells a very different story. She was clear, she was direct, and she was waiting. He simply didn't show up. Months later, in December 2025, Kody traveled to North Carolina to film an on-camera apology with Janelle. And here's where the story becomes impossible to ignore. 4 of his children live in that state. Mehdi, Mykelti, Savannah. He was physically there, in their city. And according to Mykelti, he didn't reach out to a single one of them. No call, no text, no email. She said she would have driven over 3 hours to see him if he had asked. If he had even hinted that he wanted to spend time with them, they would have made it work. But he didn't give them that opportunity. He flew in, filmed his scene, and flew right back home to Robyn. And that's when the contrast became impossible to ignore. Because on television, viewers were watching Kody cry. Watching him admit fault. Watching him say he was the problem. Watching him speak the language of accountability. But Mykelti was watching the same show with very different eyes. She admitted that when she sees him on Special Forces, she sometimes thinks, I should call him. That's good stuff. She sees the vulnerability. She hears the words. And then she remembers what happens when she does reach out. She remembers how conversations spiral. How accountability always comes with an asterisk. How apologies are followed by excuses. How every I'm sorry is quickly paired with but. And suddenly, hope becomes exhausting. Because what Kody said on Special Forces doesn't match what he said later in interviews. On the show, Under Pressure, he took full responsibility for the breakdown of his family. But weeks later, during a Good Day New York interview, he walked it all back. He said he only said that because he thought it was what the military staff wanted to hear. Avalon is too young to understand complicated family dynamics, estrangements, or the weight of unreturned texts. She doesn't know what an apology tour is, or why adults argue about accountability and blame. What she understands is presence. She understands who shows up, who plays with her, who holds her hand, who remembers her birthday, and who feels familiar and safe. And that's exactly why what Mykelti revealed next feels like a punch to the chest. On her Patreon, Mykelti said something that should haunt any parent or grandparent who hears it. She said her daughter doesn't know who her grandpa is. Not because she's confused. Not because she's shy. But because Kody simply isn't there. He doesn't call. He doesn't FaceTime. He doesn't visit. He isn't woven into the daily fabric of her life in any meaningful way. So when Avalon talks about family, when she points to the adults who matter to her, Kody isn't the name that comes up. Instead, Avalon thinks David is her grandpa. And why wouldn't she? David shows up. David plays on the floor with her. David spends time. David is consistent. He's present in the quiet, unglamorous moments that don't make it onto television. He earns that title every single day without demanding it, without defending his position, without insisting on respect. He just shows up and loves her. Kody, by contrast, is a name, a distant figure. Someone she might see occasionally, someone her parents talk about, but not someone she instinctively runs toward. And that truth was accidentally exposed on camera long before Mykelti ever said it out loud. There was a moment on Sister Wives, back when the family was still in Utah, that viewers didn't fully understand at the time. Tony referred to Kody by his first name when talking to Avalon. Just Kody, not Grandpa. Robin immediately corrected him, but the damage was already done. That wasn't a slip. That was reality leaking through the cracks. You can't correct a title a child has never learned. Children don't forget grandparents who are present. They don't hesitate around people who feel safe. And there's another scene fans still talk about, one that becomes harder to watch every time it resurfaces. When Kody visited to meet Mykelti's twins, Avalon wouldn't hug him. She wouldn't go near him. He pulled back. Mykelti eventually managed to get her to offer a fist bump, and that was it. That's not rebellion. That's unfamiliarity. That's a child reacting to a stranger. Imagine what that does to a mother. Imagine watching your child instinctively recoil from the man who is supposed to be her grandfather. Imagine knowing that the discomfort isn't because your child is difficult, but because the relationship was never built in the first place. That moment alone says more than any confessional Kody has ever filmed. And yet, Kody has repeatedly tried to explain his absence away. He said distance makes things hard. He said once kids move, relationships naturally change. He's framed geography as an insurmountable obstacle. But Mykelti doesn't let that narrative stand. She pointed out something simple and undeniable. Kody knows how to travel when he wants to. In just 1 year, he was spotted at airports 6 or 7 times. He knows how to book a flight. He knows how to make arrangements. Distance isn't the problem. Priority is. And even if travel truly were difficult, we don't live in a world where physical distance means emotional absence has to follow. FaceTime exists. Video calls exist. Regular check-ins exist. Kody could be a familiar face to his grandchildren if he wanted to be. He could make himself known. He could build recognition. He chooses not to. That choice becomes even more glaring when you compare him to Christine. Christine lives far from Mykelti too. And yet she visits. He FaceTimes. She stays involved. She knows what's happening in her grandchildren's lives. She makes sure they know who she is. The difference isn't distance. It's effort. And that's why something Kody said during an October 2024 Sister Wives episode infuriated Mykelti and many viewers. He said it wasn't fair to assume grandparents can always be in their grandchildren's lives. On the surface, that sounds reasonable. But coming from Kody, a man who has repeatedly chosen not to be present even when he had the opportunity, it rang hollow. It sounded like another excuse layered over years of similar excuses. Mykelti addressed that directly. She said instead of blaming gossip or blaming the kids' feelings or blaming their relationships with other parents, all he had to do was say, "I understand I did this wrong. Sorry. Can we talk about it?" No qualifiers. No deflection. No shifting responsibility. Just accountability. But Kody doesn't do accountability without conditions. That becomes painfully clear when Mykelti explains what she actually needs from her father. And here's the part that matters most. Her demands aren't extreme. They aren't complicated. She's not asking him to rewrite the past or fix everything overnight. She's asking for something very simple and very telling. She said she's a package deal. If he wants a relationship with her, he has to treat her entire family with kindness. He has to show up for her kids. He has to acknowledge her siblings. He can't cherry-pick which relationships he maintains based on convenience or control. She wants him to be kind to Isabel, to check in on Savannah, to truly visit, to stop trying to repair relationships one at a time on his own terms, and instead face the collective hurt he's caused. She understands something Kody refuses to accept. Family doesn't work in isolation. You don't get to compartmentalize pain and pretend the rest doesn't exist. But that's exactly what Kody wants to do. He's communicated to Mykelti that his relationship with her is separate from his relationships with her siblings. He wants to fix things individually, quietly, without having to address the bigger picture. And Mykelti knows why. Because if she lets him back in alone, he'll use her as proof that he's not the problem. He'll point to her and say, "See? Mykelti talks to me. The issue must be the other kids." She refuses to be that shield for him. That refusal isn't anger. It's integrity. And it's also loyalty. Loyalty to her brothers and sisters who have been hurt just as deeply, if not more. Loyalty to the truth she can no longer ignore. Loyalty to her own children, who deserve better than inconsistent love and broken promises. But what makes this even more heartbreaking is that despite all of this, Mykelti still hopes. She still watches Kody on Special Forces and wonders if maybe, just maybe, he meant what he said. She still creates opportunities for him to do better. She still extended that olive branch at Christmas. Part of her is still that little girl waiting for her dad to show up. The difference now is that she's also a mother. And motherhood has changed everything. Because now she sees what love without conditions looks like. She sees it in David. She sees it in the way her kids respond to him. She sees it in the ease, the warmth, the trust. And once you see that contrast, it's impossible to unsee it. That's when the exhaustion really sets in. Because realizing your parent is capable of showing up, but simply chooses not to for you, is one of the most painful truths a child can face. There are moments in families that permanently change the shape of relationships. Moments that don't just hurt, but redefine how people see each other forever. Kody hinted at one of those moments during the most recent Sister Wives tell-all, but he refused to explain it fully. He described an incident where he and Robin were asked to leave or tone things down because of their behavior, saying they were messed with bad, and that it cost him dearly. He called it so detrimental to his life that he wouldn't talk about it publicly. That vagueness alone raised alarms. But what fans and family members have pieced together since then makes the situation even more disturbing. The speculation is that this incident happened at Garrison's funeral. If that's true, it changes everything. Funerals are not places for ego. They are not places for power struggles or public displays of affection. They are moments where grief takes precedence, where respect for the dead and comfort for the living should override everything else. And if Kody and Robin were asked to adjust their behavior at their own son's memorial, the question becomes painfully obvious. How inappropriate must that behavior have been for one of his daughters to step in? Because the speculation doesn't stop there. Many believe it was Mykelti who asked them to tone it down. So, imagine the weight of that moment. A grieving daughter having to manage her father's behavior at her brother's funeral. A child being forced into the role of emotional adult because her parent couldn't read the room. And how did Kody respond? Not with understanding. Not with remorse. Not with quiet reflection. He framed it as persecution. He presented himself as the victim. He talked about being mistreated. About how badly it affected him. Not once did he center his children's grief. Not once did he acknowledge that the moment wasn't about him or Robin. That reaction tells you everything you need to know about where his priorities lie. Protecting Robin's comfort comes before everything else. Even at his son's funeral. For Mykelti, that kind of moment doesn't just hurt. It shatters illusions. It confirms fears she's been trying to outrun for years. It shows her, unmistakably, that when push comes to shove, she and her siblings will always come second. And this wasn't an isolated incident. It fits into a long-standing pattern Mykelti has watched play out her entire life. A pattern where Kody bends rules, expectations, and even morals for Robin and her children while holding everyone else to rigid standards. The ear-piercing situation wasn't a fluke. It was a symptom. So was the way Robin's children were emotionally protected while the others were told to toughen up. So was the way Kody showed up differently, softer, more attentive, more patient, depending on whose child he was dealing with. That kind of uneven parenting leaves scars that don't heal easily. Mykelti has spoken openly about how close she once was to Robin. She lived with her during Kody's courtship, helped with the kids, and considered that time special. It's part of why she defended Robin for so long, even when her siblings were pulling away. She believed in that bond. She believed it meant something. But by 2024, that relationship had deteriorated. She stopped communicating with Robin altogether. And that silence wasn't accidental. It was the result of years of watching herself be sidelined. What makes this especially painful is that Mykelti wasn't asking for perfection. She wasn't asking Kody to choose between wives or rewrite history. She was asking for consistency, for fairness, for genuine effort. And every time she reached out, she was met with half answers, delayed responses, and conditional apologies. At some point, you stop asking why someone won't show up and start accepting that they don't want to. Mykelti has reached that point. She's also reached a point of clarity about her father's love. She said that when she and her siblings were young, Kody just loved them. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't conditional. But as they grew older, his love changed. It became transactional, dependent on obedience, dependent on respect as he defined it, dependent on their willingness to center him and protect his ego. Christine confirmed this, explaining that Kody wanted his children to perform for him, on camera and off. Imagine growing up with the understanding that love has to be earned, that approval can be revoked, that affection depends on compliance. That kind of upbringing doesn't just affect childhood. It shapes adulthood. It teaches children to minimize themselves, to chase validation, to tolerate emotional neglect longer than they should. Mykelti sees that now. She sees how long she kept trying, how many olive branches she extended, how many excuses she made. And the Christmas scrapbook becomes the final proof she needs. She didn't send something careless. She sent something intimate, something honest, something that required him to sit with uncomfortable truths. And his response told her exactly how much emotional work he was willing to do. Almost none. 3 sentences weeks later. No call. No conversation. No acknowledgement of the vulnerability involved. That response wasn't neutral. It was dismissive. And for someone who had spent years begging for scraps of attention, it landed like confirmation of her worst fear. She's not worth the effort. And yet, even now, Mykelti isn't trying to punish her father. She's trying to protect herself. She's made it clear she won't reconcile unless he commits to repairing relationships with all of his children. This isn't stubbornness. It's wisdom. She understands his pattern too well. Divide. Isolate. Repair just enough to look functional. Avoid accountability for the collective harm. She won't be part of that anymore. Kody, predictably, doesn't like this boundary. He wants access without accountability. He wants individual relationships he can control. He wants to avoid confronting the full scope of damage. And when Mykelti refuses, he frames it as her being difficult, as her holding grudges, as her refusing to move on. But boundaries feel like punishment to people who benefited from your lack of them. What makes this moment tragic is that Kody still has time. His children are still alive. They're still reachable. They're still open, at least on some level, to change. But time is not endless. Children grow up. Grandchildren grow up. Bonds either form or they don't. And the years Kody is missing now are years he will never get back. Avalon is growing. The twins are growing. These are the years where relationships are built effortlessly, where memories form naturally, where presence matters more than grand gestures. Christine understands this. That's why she visits. That's why she FaceTimes. That's why she stays connected even across distance. Kody is letting those moments slip away. And one day, probably sooner than he realizes, the door will close completely. Not out of spite, not out of anger, but out of acceptance. Quiet kind. The kind Mykelti is already stepping into. Because the hardest realization isn't that someone hurt you. It's that they're unlikely to ever change. And once you accept that, you stop offering parts of yourself to be rejected. Mykelti is almost there. And in the final part of this story, we'll see what that acceptance really looks like. What it costs. And why, for the first time, choosing herself might be the most loving decision she's ever made. There comes a point in every fractured relationship when hope stops feeling brave and starts feeling reckless. When continuing to reach out no longer feels like love, but like self-betrayal. For Mykelti, that realization didn't arrive all at once. It crept in slowly, layered over years of disappointment, missed opportunities, and emotional silence. And the Christmas scrapbook, sitting somewhere in Kody's house, became the quiet symbol of that realization. Because when you strip everything else away, that gift wasn't about photos or handprints or letters. It was about effort. It was about saying, "I'm still here and I'm still trying." And Kody's response, or lack of one, made it painfully clear how uneven that effort had always been. 3 sentences, sent weeks late, were enough to shatter the illusion that maybe this time would be different. Mykelti finally had to confront a truth she'd spent years avoiding. Her father doesn't lack the ability to show up. He lacks the willingness to do it for her. She's seen him be present, attentive, and involved. She's watched him prioritize Robin's household, defend Robin's children, and bend rules he once enforced strictly. That knowledge is more painful than outright absence because it removes all doubt. This isn't confusion. This isn't misunderstanding. This is choice. And choices have consequences. One of the most heartbreaking things Mykelti shared is how her understanding of her father's love has changed with time. When she was young, she believed his love was unconditional, simple, secure. But as she grew older and started forming her own opinions, setting boundaries, and building her own family, that love became conditional. It depended on respect as he defined it, on obedience, on compliance.